Hello and welcome to our show. This is Simiran Choudhary and I welcome you all on behalf of Voice of Healthcare to our show Voice of Healthcare Leadership Talks Cancer Awareness Edition. As we all know, this month, February month, is known as National Cancer Prevention Month. So the leadership rounds is all based on the cancer prevention theme. And the theme of the session is the leaders leadership talks, where we focus on the leaders who are into this healthcare sectors and working tirelessly to create that impact in the society, to be the innovative leaders, to promote the technology, just to fulfill or help the society out of it. And specifically, you have to talk about, then in this case, it's just the cancer awareness, the cancer prevention, the cancer diagnostics, and the treatments. So for the today's session, we have the bestest guest we could have. That is Mr. Varun Mundra, the head of India's country Vara. Welcome, Varun, to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Varun, for for coming to our show, and so that we can go through a talk and learn more about you, Vara, the aim of Vara, and how Vara is actually creating an impact in the society. So before going ahead, I would just like to give a brief introduction about Varun. That Varun has 13 years of experience in tech industry, and he is the country manager at Vara of India. He has a strong understanding of business landscape growth drivers of the industry, and I think more we'll get to know from Varun only. So, Varun, please give us a brief introduction about you, Vara. How was your experience in this tech industry, and how did you land it in Vara so far?
Yep, sure. So I think it's been a quite interesting journey for me. I started, I've stumbled upon variety of roles, and I've been grateful for them, and I've been able to do justice to them as well. So I started my career in a traditional brick and mortar style business, in a family business where I was we processing natural stones and stuff like that. But being a computer science grad, I was always driven towards technology, and that's when I decided to move on to more, say, interesting things. I started working in financial technology as one of the first areas I wanted to learn and grow. Very interesting setups, very innovative things we were doing on augmented intelligence back in 2015-16. It was AI was basically called augmented intelligence
Yeah.
because we said, hey, having an AI, full-fledged AI, is still some years away. So we were doing very interesting things in financial technology, active learning spaces, augmented intelligence. I worked with a couple of stock exchanges across Asia Pacific and so on. And that led to doing some interesting work in music education, building hub and spoke design type of learning experience in music. Well, hub and spoke is more of a public health terminology, but I can now look back and relate to the learning basically. So we were doing that, and then eventually I got to work on very interesting machine learning models for cybersecurity, anti-malware technologies, which could actually bring down governments that scale, and then how do you really prevent them. So I got exposure to doing that, and then more recently I started working in voice AI, which is as we know it, large language models these days. So I started working in voice AI and technology transformation on voice front for large financial services, insurance companies, and so on and so forth. And all of that accumulation, I'd say, of understanding technology and business landscape led me to Vara, which I must confess is the closest to my heart type of a project, because this is technology which is doing some real good for the society, giving back to the society. So yeah, that's been the quick journey for me.
No, I can understand the excitement while you were sharing your journey with Vara and how close it is. We can understand through your expressions and that closeness with Vara is. So, Varun, we know a little bit about Vara, that it is a German-based brand AI that helps in screening of breast cancer and stuff. But we exactly want to know, what is Vara, what is the inspiration behind it, how did that idea get into this head, and how we got this amazing innovation in, in this healthcare sector.
Yeah, sure. I think it's very interesting. In fact, there is a very interesting story. Rather, how it happened is just like for any startup, we would sit and brainstorm that, hey, what should say our company be called? And our lead designer actually comes from India as well, and Germany and India, or the historic India, so to say, the Indo-European
Yeah,
link is always very strong, right? So
yeah,
Vara comes from also a Sanskrit word, a var, which means
mm,
gift, and that is a small, say, anecdotal story behind how we ended up choosing the name.
yeah,
But the mission for the company is actually finding every deadly breast cancer early,
yeah.
because this is the highest occurring cancer in the world at this point in time, and our best defense against the disease remains as early detection and screening, right? So we wanted to build the technology which could change this, and which could provide access and affordable access to women all over the world, a billion women approximately, who needs such access at this point in time. And that has been the driving mission, the driving force behind Vara, and everybody in the organization kind of lives by that.
Correct. And I got this inspiration. Even I saw that from your page that the main aim of VARA is to detect every deadly breast cancer in the world so that they can treat it as early as possible.
That's correct. Yes. Early detection saves lives, right? Everybody wins in the system if cancers are detected early. So yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that the technology is actually working in the ground, like how it is helping that AI, like we said, AI is the new future, or the coming things like robotic surgeries are also happening and stuff like that. So this advancement and new technologies are actually helping or contributing in this healthcare sector. But coming back to the VARA and the screening of how it has it happens and stuff, so we exactly want to know the process. How does this AI screening works? What is the complete process of it? And how helpful it has been in terms of diagnostic treatments and recovery in ground actually.
Sure. Uh, so, okay, I'll take a step back, right? Mammography is considered as the clinical gold standard for screening for breast cancer, right?
Hmm.
In a lot of advanced or developed economies, mammography screening is run as national screening programs and cancer control programs across the developed world. So, so while that is a fact that mammography is considered a clinical gold standard, when we look at emerging economies, the challenge remains, and there are multifold challenges, right? It could be an infrastructure challenge, or a resource challenge, or awareness challenge, and so on and so forth. So, to maybe answer the first part of your question, how does the screening work? We are not making any change in the process, meaning you book your appointment, you go to a facility where there is a screening or a mammography scanner available, you get your scans done, and you go back home. What happens after the images are taken is where AI comes into be, right? So we focus on unlocking capacity and efficacy after the images are taken, and nothing beyond that. So before that, so there is no change for a person, or a woman walking into a center to get the mammography scan. um, and as a part of the process itself, we also understand that screening is just a means to an end, right? So because it's not that we find something early on, and then what happens after is more important, I'd say. So the
Yes.
way we built our technology is, while AI is at the heart of it, at the core of it, which helps us unlock capacity, it's the entire continuum of care that is the focus. So from booking an appointment, to getting a scan, to getting that report, to moving to the next step, probably a diagnosis if needed, and then eventually moving on to a treatment and staging, basically, and hand holding the person, the woman, in that process, from point A to point B, I think is something how we see Vara develop even further.
Correct. And the way, how can you, if I have to ask in numbers, like how is Vara impacting in, the reality, if
Yeah.
something is there?
Yeah. No, very good question. So we get asked this question a lot. Um, so at this point, we have been able to prove that in a very mature screening program, like in Germany,
Hmm.
which is a 20-year-old national screening program, in
Hmm.
which Para grew as well, uh, we find 50% more cancers, and we are able to reduce false positives by a significant margin as well. So
Hmm.
it's a sensitivity and specificity, usually in technical terms, is a double-edged sword, because if a radiologist calls out a lot of cancers or a lot of cases as cancers, then it means that they need to be diagnosed, and pathology needs to happen to prove that whatever was flagged was actually malign. But if you are able to, you know, flag only the cases which are truly malign, then you
Hmm.
save the resources of the entire health system, right? So, as I said, we have been able to, one of our papers which got published in Lancet in 22. We said that we can find 43% more cancers than an expert German radiologist, reduce false positives by almost 20%, and improve the radiologist productivity by almost 73%. And it was, I mean, this is also like a 3-year-old model, so to say. And as you know, AI keeps on getting better and
Changing.
better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we recently also concluded the world's largest prospective study in AI in a real world setting, in which we recruited almost 500,000 women.
Hmm.
That's also done in Germany, though, but the results are overwhelming. The cancer detection is 20% plus with AI, and false positives are also reduced by a significant number. So if you look at these two numbers together, it what it tells us is, in an existing infrastructure, in the setup which we have, we can do a lot more without overburdening the system.
And I think that's great because, like you said, the model is 3 years old, and slowly and gradually it changes. It improves, and it makes its impact, and that's how we can see from the numbers that how greatly it's impacting in the society, and it will make a big change in the near future coming around, because like we were talking, AI is the future, and it takes time to get established everywhere, especially this new change where people are not abhi tak to I'll say I'll like talk according to the normal layman people. They won't agree to this acha ki bhai koi AI se bhi you can get detected that. So it will take time to build that trust, and once the cases, the incidents will happen, the things will come out, that belief system, that implication of this AI driven technology will set up everywhere, I believe.
Absolutely, I think that's absolutely something we would also like to see one day.
Yeah.
And a very interesting thing about our technology is, you don't even need to know there is AI in the back end, right? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's like this Intel inside. You have it inside your machines, but nobody sees that Intel chip inside your machine.
correct.
So that's how the AI works. It's more about being proactive about your health, and maybe after a certain age, but typically 40 plus is what is recommended for
Hmm.
any, and biennially, right? So once in 2 years, you get your preventive exam done, and when you get it done from a place which has AI integrated into the process.
Hmm. That's great. But Varun, how did Vara thought of venturing in India? Like, what was the prompt, or let's say the situation? What was it when you guys thought of
Yep.
venturing into India?
Yep. I think another very interesting question, because we had long discussions around this, and so So Vara grew up in the National Breast Cancer Screening Program, right? So we screen today almost 40% of the eligible population in Germany, which is almost around 70 to 80,000 screenings every month at this point in time. And and then we did a lot of publication, scientific evidence that the technology really helps in peer-reviewed journals and so on and so forth. The question was obvious now, that now do you take this technology to a France or a Spain or another Western economy which is already having, say, infrastructure, radiologists, resources, a set system in place, or do you look at emerging economies which are growing rapidly, right? And I think this is also the curse of development, because as, say, India becomes a middle income country by 2030 or a high income country by 2047,
Hmm.
all the healthcare challenges of a developed world will also be a part and parcel of that development, right?
Correct.
So what it means is, economies which are growing very fast, very rapidly, will see the burden of the non-communicable diseases, as we call it, general burden of
Yeah.
all of that, and cancer being,
Yeah.
of course, at the top of those diseases, dramatically hit the system. When systems are not prepared for it, it will be a huge challenge. We have already seen that in 2020 the number of reported breast cancer cases in India were close to 200,000, about 180,000 cases, right? And
Yes.
the survival rates are also quite low at this point in time. um, and then we started to think that, hey, if our mission is to provide access to affordable and high quality screening, then should we go to a US, or should we go to a Mexico or a Egypt or an India, where when there is high impact which can be implemented there, right? So with that thought, I think we said we need to enter India and we need to start working here. And yeah, it's been quite interesting since the last year. So
No, I can think of that, like why you guys thought of that, because like just you explain about the situation of India, the cases and the recovery rate is very low, and that's why there was the need or emergence of launching Vara.ai in India. And that's how I think you guys are also being able to work here. The impact, the diagnosis is uh, if a person can be diagnosed of cancer at an early stage, then the recovery becomes better, smoother,
absolutely,
and less complicated.
yes, yes.
And that way,
I mean,
Vara, yeah,
early stage, basically, everybody wins, right? The treatment is less invasive, it's much more
yeah,
affordable, it is
correct,
the quality of healthy life years you will be able to add to the person's life is amazing. And we also need to look at it more from, so cancer, any type of cancer, is not just impacting that person, it impacts the entire family, right?
correct,
It drains financial resources, it drains mental resources, it drains a lot of productive life years from the entire family's setup. So
yeah,
I think I very strongly think about this, that as a country, if we are looking at becoming, say, a $7 trillion, a $10 trillion economy in the future, it cannot be just by half of the population participating in the economy. We need to do a lot more so that the other half of the population can participate in the economy and participate in nation building, right? And therefore interventions like this will go a long way to be able
yeah,
to do some of these things.
correct. Yes, that's the way you said it very rightly. That how it impacts the complete family, emotionally, mentally, financially, and it drains out everyone out there.
Absolutely, yes.
So, Varun, like Vara is acting like a, like a var in India, right? It has been acting that way. But now when I go back, I take a step back, like how Vara is helping. But now I want to understand like how Vara's business model is. How do you approach your clients, or let's say diagnostic firms, or do you even go for diagnostics or the hospitals? Like what is the business model here?
Mhm. So, um, the way we think about this, Simran, is we think the biggest beneficiary of stage shifting, as we call it, or finding cancers early,
Yeah,
is the payer system, right?
yeah,
So consider a insurance system like PMJAY, for example, right? If you look at the annual bill of PMJAY, a majority portion is into cancer treatments, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Now, the biggest beneficiary clearly is an insurance system who pays for the treatment of that disease, right? So we
Correct.
see very strongly that Vara as a screening platform, not just an AI company, but as a screening platform which can support the entire continuum of care and plug into, a single window into the disease itself, can support, data and information around how breast cancer control should happen in an economy like India, adds a lot of value. And we can feed that information back into cancer registries and systems which can be used for further, further policy making, so to say. So we strongly feel that health systems are our customers who would want to benefit maximum from a stage shifting of breast cancer, and that's our focus at this point.
Correct. And I think that's how the people will come to know about Vara, and then even if let's say not to come to know about Vara, but the aim is resolved what Vara thinks of, directly
Absolutely.
approaching to the healthcare system.
Absolutely, yes. Because I mean, at the end of the day, currently nobody is happy because if you find, say, a cancer in stage 3 or 4,
Yeah.
even if go to get a treatment, you get the diagnosis done, the treatment is extremely invasive, the
Hmm.
quality of life you add to the person is not very, say, healthy in any terms, right? And also we're not able to add a lot of healthy life years to that life, right? So both the things are bad, and then the cost of treatment is very high. It becomes
Yeah.
almost unaffordable, right? So nobody is happy, not the person going through that journey, not the payer, and it just is a lose-lose situation, so to say,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But if you, again, as I said, stage shifted, right? If you look at developed economies, or economies which are high income with structured systematic screening programs, 90% plus cancers, specifically breast cancers, are detected in stage 1 and 2, almost 50% in stage 1, right?
Yes.
So that is something where we can, while the disease exists and we know it exists, we can still live in a fear free world where we can say that it is treatable, it is manageable, and this does not become a death sentence as it is at this point in time.
Correct, correct. So if that, like you said, this 50% of the cases are diagnosed in stage one, and then the later. So I think that way it is helping out the country, the people who are using it. But I believe if that way your aim and intentions are being clarified or being fulfilled, there must be few challenges also that Vara would be facing in India, let's say specifically,
Yeah.
right? So what are those challenges, Varun?
Yeah, I mean, as any young company would have it, right? We are a startup at the end of the day. We are a very
Yeah,
young company. We are, very ambitious, looking to make a dent in the world type of setup, and this definitely brings a lot of challenges. From very simple challenges like medical experts doubting if AI can really do something or not,
yeah,
to situations like unavailability of infrastructure on which we can run the AI, right?
yeah,
So it's a whole spectrum, I would say, in terms of what sort of challenges we've been facing, and building a systematic program itself is a long term, process in which multiple stakeholders are involved, from guidelines creation to policy making to making sure that there is a proper uptake in the system for a screening program. So yes, I think these are just to name a few challenges which we've been going through. But we also see all of these challenges as a lot of learning opportunity.
yeah,
I think if we can, 100x the capacity of the system for screening with just the existing resources which we have, then we have a very strong case to be made. And I think that's where a lot of our energy is at this point in time. We don't just to maybe give you a back of the envelope calculation, if we are to run uh, say a nationwide screening program in India in a hypothetical world, we might need around 50,000 radiologists to do that, right?
Correct.
And that is simply impossible because of resource crunch. But with AI, with Vara, we could do it simply with a couple of hundred radiologists rather than 50,000. So that's the impact of AI. That's the capacity unlock we are talking about, and yeah, we can shape the future the way we would want it. So
And I guess that's how you guys are planning to make the mark in India through AI.
absolutely, yes.
Yes. So, Varun, like you just explained us about the challenges of Vara facing in India, right? And now I want to know if they were the challenges, and the good thing is you guys have the positive mindset of uh, taking those challenges into the learnings. That is the good part. But as of now, so far, how has Vara been able to create that impact in journey?
Mhm. So at this point, our focus is actually on capacity building itself,
Hmm.
systems capacity to understand, say, how an AI could work, how an AI could drive results and deliver results, and so on and so forth. We are already live in some of our partner centers in Mumbai at this point in time, and in the process, we've also embarked on a very interesting, first of its kind academic research with one of the leading cancer institute in the country as well. We are also working with a leading nonprofit in one of the leading nonprofit in the world, actually building a novel AI mammography driven screening program. And we are at a stage we are considering going in a very controlled setup live with one or two states in the country who are, say, let me put it that way, who already are embarking on a cancer control program, right? So how
Yeah.
do you make it better? How do you make it more advanced and more high efficacy program? So we are already embarking on some of those things. And yeah, I think in next few months are going to be quite exciting for us.
That's great. That's great. We can see that Josh on your face, that the excitement and things that that will be a brighter future.
Absolutely, yes.
So Varun, that one last question I want to ask about Vara from you is, where do you see Vara soon in the near future?
uh, Hopefully running large scale screening programs. India has, say, about 250 to 300 million women in the age category of 40 plus, 40 to 75 age group primarily, and they should be screened, say, once in 2 years at best. And we are not thinking in terms of having a nationwide program already, because we know that's not how it will work in India, but in a very systematic, risk stratified, resource stratified approach, where we could start with doing some bits already and then scale it up from there. So having a large scale program run is what I would see Vara doing soon.
I really like the way you explained the process, like do's and don'ts, and why it won't happen if the nationwide screening you're thinking. This shows how the good understanding you have about the market and how well you are planned for the next step in India specifically. I have to talk about. So that's great, Varun. It was a great knowing more about Vara intentions, future plans, and challenges, and how AI is actually driving this healthcare sector and making that impact what we actually want to see. To promote the technology, to make it more innovative, and to make an impact in society. And that's what Vara is doing. And we guys, like Voice of Healthcare, are together with Vara to make that impact in the society to help people out there in the healthcare sector.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the words of encouragement, and I think yeah, we all need encouragement to make sure whatever we are thinking also becomes a reality.
Correct, correct. That's great, Varun, and it was a great session with you. I got to know so much about you guys working, and specifically, I have to talk about the people who are listeners, will, got to so much insights that okay, we have this technology in our country, so why not go and get yourself checked,
Yeah.
and like you said, add on a healthy more years to your life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the good part is we are not talking about AI in US or AI anywhere outside India now. We are talking about AI in India,
In India.
working in India, already doing things in India. So yeah, I think the ball is shifting, the table is turning, and we have an amazing opportunity to do something in India and then give it back to the world. That hey, in a resource constrained setting, this is how you run a cancer control program. So absolutely excited about that. Thank you for
Correct.
having me here, Simran, as well. I absolutely enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much, Varun. And the last line you said, AI in India, and next line that made, I believe, you and me both proud that
Yeah.
AI is actually working in India and it's making an impact. Being an Indian.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Thank you so much, Varun. Thank you so much for connecting with us, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.